The average professional who receives a $15,000 annual raise ends up $47,000 poorer in net worth over the next decade than someone who got no raise at all. That number has a name, and it's not called irresponsibility. It's not called bad investing. It's called a window, and most people never even know it opened. You know exactly how this goes. The email arrives. HR confirms the number. You run the math in your head, what you'll finally be able to save, what will finally change, where the extra money will go. And for a moment, it all makes sense. More income in, same life out. The difference builds. Then 3 months pass. The number in your account looks almost identical to what it did before the raise. Not because you bought something absurd, not because you made a single reckless decision. You just adjusted quietly in ways that felt completely proportional at the time. The apartment that was fine became one you'd finally outgrown. The grocery store you'd been tolerating became the one you actually liked. The weekend plans that felt like a stretch started feeling like the standard. A subscription here, a slightly better option there. None of it felt like spending. It felt like living at the level you'd earned. And here's what nobody tells you: that shift isn't weakness. It's not failure. It's a biological mechanism operating exactly as designed, and it moves faster than your decision-making can. There is a 48-hour window that opens every single time your income increases. A window where the gap between your old financial identity and your new income still exists as a real, unclaimed number before your brain reclassifies that gap as simply what you earn now. The professionals who find that window and move inside it build wealth from raises. The professionals who don't just earn more money that passes straight through without ever touching their net worth. By the end of this, you'll know exactly what that window is, why it exists, what opens it, and the one specific action that captures it before it closes. Because it always closes. The only question is whether you moved first. Here's the mechanism that most financial content never reaches. When your income increases, your brain doesn't process it as extra money. It processes it as a new reference point. This is the same cognitive system that makes the second bite of dessert taste different from the first. The system that makes a hotel room feel luxurious on night 1 and completely ordinary by night 3. Your brain is running a constant background question: what's normal for someone like me? And the moment your paycheck changes, it starts quietly updating its answer. What makes this specifically dangerous for anyone trying to build wealth is that the recalibration doesn't happen gradually. Research on hedonic adaptation, how quickly humans normalize new conditions, shows the brain can reclassify a new income level as the baseline within 3 to 6 weeks. In some cases, faster. Which means the gap, the actual financial delta between your old spending identity and your new income, exists as a real, unclaimed number for a very short window of time. After that window closes, the gap doesn't disappear into savings. It doesn't disappear into investments. It disappears into identity. The floor of your lifestyle, the minimum acceptable standard that you now unconsciously defend, rises to claim exactly the amount that could have compounded. Let's make this concrete, because abstract warnings about lifestyle inflation have never changed anyone's behavior. Numbers do. Say you earn $65,000 per year. A raise brings you to $80,000. The intention is clear: invest the difference. But the recalibration begins almost immediately. Within the first month, an apartment upgrade adds $300 per month. You're driving something slightly newer, so the insurance adjusts. The restaurants you used to go to start feeling inconsistent with where you are now. 2 subscription services you've been considering stop feeling like luxuries. Grocery spend drifts upward by roughly $150 without a single deliberate decision. That's $600 per month in baseline lifestyle drift, $7,200 per year. Out of a $15,000 raise, nearly half has been absorbed by identity before a brokerage account was even opened. Now apply that same pattern across 10 years of periodic raises, the career trajectory that looks strong on paper, income that's nearly doubled from where it started. Then apply the compounding that never happened. Investment growth on money that was captured by lifestyle instead of deployed into markets, returning an average 7% annually. $47,000 is a conservative estimate of the net worth gap between the person who captured the window and the person who watched it close. And here's the part that changes how you see this: none of those spending increases were reckless. Not one of them was stupid. Every single upgrade felt reasonable, earned, and proportional. That's not coincidence. That's the mechanism working exactly as designed. This is where most financial content makes the wrong diagnosis and therefore gives the wrong prescription. The standard advice: budget your raise before you spend it. Allocate percentages, build the spreadsheet, practice restraint. That advice isn't wrong, but it's treating a budgeting problem when the real problem is an identity architecture problem. Budgeting works when numbers are the variable. Here, the numbers are not the variable, the identity is. The moment your brain accepts a higher income as its new normal, the budget becomes a document you fight against instead of a tool you build with. You're no longer trying to allocate surplus, you're trying to cut below what now registers as minimum. That's not discipline, that's deprivation, and deprivation doesn't compound. The question isn't how do I spend less of my raise. The question is, how do I capture the raise before it becomes my new floor? That's a timing problem, and timing problems have timing solutions. Here's what the window looks like from the inside. In the 48 hours after a raise is confirmed, something rare and brief is true. Your brain knows both numbers, the old income, the new income. It hasn't yet decided which one is you. The lifestyle architecture hasn't upgraded, the expectations haven't shifted, the minimum acceptable standard hasn't moved. The full financial difference between your old identity and your new income is sitting unclaimed in a space your brain hasn't yet colonized. After 48 hours, the colonization begins, quietly, without announcement. The apartment that was fine starts feeling like something you've grown past. The car you'd been considering stops feeling indulgent and starts feeling proportional. The restaurants you used to visit start carrying an association that belongs to an earlier version of you, the version that earned less. None of this feels like spending, it feels like arriving, it feels like calibrating to what you've earned. That feeling is the window closing. 10 years of raises, a career that looks strong on any resume, income nearly doubled from where it started. A net worth that looks almost exactly like it did 6 years ago. Not because anything catastrophic happened, because nothing deliberate happened in the specific narrow window where something could have. The tragedy isn't the money that was spent on upgrades. The tragedy is the compounding that never started, and the person who had every resource needed to build wealth and simply moved too slowly into the only moment that mattered. The 48-hour raise rule is a single-action framework built for exactly this window. The moment your raise is confirmed, not when the paycheck arrives, not when the new salary period begins, but the moment the number is known, you execute one move. Redirect the entire monthly difference in income directly to an investment account before your first new paycheck lands. Not half, not a percentage that feels safe, the full delta. Here's why this works psychologically, not just mathematically. Your brain hasn't recalibrated yet. The new income hasn't become your baseline, which means redirecting the full difference doesn't trigger loss aversion because there's no perceived loss. The old lifestyle is still your reference point. You're not cutting below your floor, you're choosing which floor to build on. There is a significant neurological difference between deprivation and discipline applied before adaptation sets in. Deprivation activates the brain's threat response. It creates friction, resistance, and eventually collapse. Discipline exercised in the window before the new income feels normal activates something entirely different: identity reinforcement. Your brain doesn't experience it as restriction, it experiences it as direction. After 3 months, you've adapted to your lifestyle as is. The investment contribution runs as automated infrastructure, not a monthly decision. Hedonic adaptation works for you instead of against you because you moved before it could claim the gap. You let your lifestyle upgrade by a portion of the raise. You captured the wealth building portion first. The window made that possible. Timing made that possible. The 48-hour raise rule doesn't fight human psychology. It uses the exact same recalibration mechanism, just pointed in a different direction. Financial discipline isn't restriction, it's direction. Restriction says you can't have the life you want. Direction says you choose which floor you build before the ceiling gets set. Every raise is architecture. The only question is who designs it, you, deliberately, in the 48-hour window, or the biological mechanism that begins construction the moment you look away. The people building real wealth from income growth aren't more disciplined in the traditional sense. They're not fighting harder against their own psychology. They're faster. They move inside the window. Here's the implication that doesn't fully land until it's too late. The cost of missing a single raise window isn't the raise, it's the compounding. Every month that passes after the window closes, the new floor gets stronger. The lifestyle that was optional becomes expected. The spending that felt like an upgrade becomes non-negotiable. And the gap in net worth, that $47,000 number, isn't the cost of one ignored window. It's the cost of a pattern that begins the moment you decide the window can wait. There's a next raise coming. There's a next window. The only question is whether you'll know it's open before it closes.